I'm Peggy Berry, a member of the League of Women Voters of the Greater Dayton area. I am here today with candidates running for the Court of Common Pleas. Our candidates are Judge Robert Hassman and Ms. Angelina Jackson. We will start our interviews by giving the candidates 1 minute to tell us about themselves and why they want to serve on the Court of Common Pleas. Ms. Jackson, I will start with you.
Thank you very much, Peggy. My name is Angelina Jackson. I was born and raised here in the city of Dayton. I graduated from Dayton Public Schools. I'm raising 2 daughters in this community. I've been practicing law for almost 18 years with a combination of criminal and civil work. But most of my career has been focused on representing people who are poor or marginalized and focusing on service. And so the reason why I'm running for judge is because I'm seeking to extend my commitment to my home community and extend my service by being part of making our local legal system very strong.
Thank you so much. Judge Hassman, would you please start by giving us an explanation of who you are and why you want to serve?
Well, thank you. I am Judge Bob Hansman, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum. I practiced law for 27 years, 24 of those years here in the Dayton area, where I also grew up. And, while I was practicing, I always noticed that the best judges, when I appeared in front of them, were those that had the most experience, as well as the most varied experience. It really helps when you're a judge to have done a little bit of everything. And that's kind of how my career has been. I started out as doing criminal work as a military prosecutor, and then I joined a law firm and have done civil law and really didn't specialize in any one kind of law. I did a little bit of everything, and that's really put me in good stead. It's so useful in this job to have done a wide variety of things. I've represented both plaintiffs and defendants. I've represented individuals, companies, and organizations, all of which help me in this job. It's really a privilege to serve the people of Montgomery County in this position.
Thank you both. I will ask each candidate the same question. You will have 2 minutes to speak to each question, and then I will move on to the next candidate and give them 2 minutes to respond. Judge Hassman, I will start with you first. What non-judicial legal experience qualifies you to be a judge?
Well, I think it's very important to have been have had a wide variety of non-judicial experiences in one's life, as well as to serve the community. Some things that I've done in the community is I really have focused on reading over the years, reading especially for young people, reading comprehension. I really think reading is the key to most of success in life, or so much of it. And I still remember learning to read, and who taught me? Miss Wilson, when we were stationed in Munich, Germany, and I was attending an American school overseas. And I remember the world it opened up, the world of books. So I volunteered for the library starting about 15 years ago, and I'm talking about the Centerville, Washington Library. And eventually I was invited to become part of its financial advisory committee. And then I was invited to become a board member, a trustee of the library. Eventually I served 2 years as the president of the board of directors of the library. I just think, so a lot of my non-judicial work, volunteerism, has been on reading and library work. I'm also a trustee of the Centerville, Washington Foundation, which is a component organization of the Dayton Foundation that I believe most people here are probably familiar with. And as a trustee of that foundation, I've served in a variety of roles, including being the coordinator for grants. And what a privilege it was and it has been to hear from so many organizations around our community, that have needs, and to be able and be in a position to help them get the money that they need. So I've coordinated grants, and I've also served as secretary of that organization. And I've served in other positions and boards as well as been, I'm very active in the bar as well, and have been a member of what's called the Inn of Court for well over 20 years here. So I think a wide variety of experiences, non-judicial, is very helpful in this job as well.
Thank you very much. Ms. Jackson, what non-judicial legal experience qualifies you to be a judge?
Thank you very much. I have never been a judge before. However, as I indicated in my opening remarks, I've been practicing law for almost 18 years. Currently, I'm an assistant Montgomery County public defender. I represent people charged with crimes in the municipal, common pleas, and appellate courts of Montgomery County. Currently, I am the lead attorney of our appellate division. And what we do there is analyze what has taken place in the Court of Common Pleas and essentially deal with the errors that have occurred in the lower court proceedings. And so I have substantial criminal experience. Additionally, I was an attorney in the civil litigation division of the law firm of Dinsmore and Scholl, dealing with a number of different types of civil matters. Predominantly on the defense side, but I have done plaintiff's litigation as well in that context. And lastly, I served as the director of the Race and Justice Project at the nonprofit law office of the Ohio Justice and Policy Center located in Cincinnati. In that capacity, I litigated criminal appeals, civil rights cases, and advocated for criminal justice reform. And so in terms of my legal experience, my 18 years has been spent handling the types of cases that are heard by the Common Pleas Court. And I believe that I have sufficient familiarity with both the substantive and procedural aspects of the law to adjudicate those disputes. I also have served as part of the City of Dayton's police reform initiatives, as a volunteer attorney with the Volunteer Lawyers Project, and in multiple capacities with the Dayton Bar Association.
Thank you so much. Ms. Jackson, next question will go to you. What alternatives to incarceration do you support?
Thank you so much for this question. This relates directly to a lot of the work that we do at the Public Defender's Office. We, in a lot of instances, are dealing with lower level nonviolent offenders who have made their way into the criminal justice system with a combination of things such as addiction, mental health, issues related to poverty. And so I think it's very important that in our system, if we want to have people rehabilitated and we want to be able to stop them from reoffending, we need alternatives, therapeutic alternatives that deal with the underlying reasons why people become involved in the system in the first place. And so I truly support the use of the court's specialized dockets that treat those underlying issues. I support the use of social workers and other professionals that can help structure the terms of court supervision that does not involve incarceration. These are some of the things that help get to the underlying issues. And sometimes we have other things available to us, such as placement in residential treatment facilities. We can also utilize electronic home detention, which is a manner of tracking the whereabouts of an individual versus placing them into a facility. And so we have lots of tools at our disposal to not utilize incarceration, except in cases where it is truly needed, which I believe benefits our community as a whole. If we can get to the root of the criminal behavior and help individuals become contributing members to our community. And so I fully support the ones that are in existence. And I also believe that we have an ongoing duty to make sure that we are using every tool that's available and engaging in best practices in terms of our alternatives to incarceration.
Thank you so much. Judge Hasseman, same question. What alternatives to incarceration do you support?
Well, I guess first and foremost, I would say that I support incarceration when incarceration is appropriate, and it is often appropriate. There are some times where alternatives are appropriate, and every crime is different, and every criminal is different, every victim is different. So I think when appropriate, we should be prepared to use other means other than incarceration But to go to the statement that was made earlier that we need to get to the root of criminal behavior, I think that's somebody's job. I don't think it's the court's job. I think the court's job is to judge the case before it. If someone needs help and therapy, they should get it. But it's really not the province or the job of the court to be a social worker. We have many wonderful social workers. I have some in my own family, and I have a daughter studying social work in college, and they do wonderful work. I just don't know that it's really the court's main job. So if appropriate, I do believe in specialized courts. We have some specialized courts here in Montgomery County. For example, we have a court diversion program focusing on women. We have another program focusing on veterans, and certainly veterans face some unique challenges coming back from war zones, for example. I'm a veteran of the Air Force myself. I'm certainly sensitive to all that, and we need to have compassion for all the people that come before us and all of the issues that they have. I think that technology is great, and we have things such as electronic monitoring that help, but really fundamentally, a judge and a court has to be prepared to incarcerate where and when necessary. And alternatives can be kept in mind, but they are not the heart of what the court does. And so I guess I'd say I believe in incarceration when necessary.
Thank you. Judge Hasseman, I'm going to go to you for this question. What changes, if any, in the cash bail system would you support?
Thank you. That's an excellent question. It's certainly being asked around the country. A lot of states are experimenting or have been experimenting with changes to the bail system. I think fundamentally, though, we have to think about first principles. And in the old days, long ago, if you were accused of a crime, you'd be put in jail and await trial. And bail was developed as a liberal, progressive change in the law, and I think a good one, where you could send someone home while they await trial. However, you had to have them post money of a sufficient amount to encourage them to come back. And I think that's a great innovation. And for the most part, it's worked. I know that bail is controversial for some because they think that it's used in a discriminatory fashion, or some groups get different amounts. I haven't seen evidence of that. And of the states that have experimented with bail reform, such as New York, for example, New Jersey, I believe Kentucky and others, the results are decidedly mixed. There's really not a lot of evidence that it has improved things. There's some use of, for example, computers and artificial intelligence to guide courts into deciding what the amount of bail should be. I'm not convinced that a computer can do that better than a person, frankly. And there's been some studies that have suggested that the liberalization of bail also results in fewer people showing up for trial. The results aren't fully in yet, but there's some at the margin, some evidence that fewer people show up for trial. There's more absconders, basically. So I think we can look at it. I think it's worth looking at, but fundamentally, I support the system that we have. I think it's a privilege to be out of jail while you're awaiting trial, and not everybody should earn that privilege. I think that the bail system has really worked well in this country. So I'm mostly for continuing as we've done.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, the same question. What changes, if any, in the cash bail system would you support?
Thank you. So I think it might be helpful for your viewers to just understand, by way of background, what bail is designed to do, which is to ensure that a person returns to the court proceedings. There is a constitutional right to bail. And what the present state of the law says about cash bail, when we're talking about money and how we determine the amount of money that it takes to have someone return to court, that needs to be based on that person's individual financial circumstances. And what it means is that the law just doesn't permit us to impose excessively high monetary bail with the intent of holding someone in court. If we want to hold someone in court pending trial, there is a very specific Ohio revised code to be followed. And so the law when we think about our procedural rules, our case law, and the statutes, provides much guidance to the court in terms of determining what the monetary and non-monetary conditions of bail should be. And I also think that one thing we should be mindful of in terms of pretrial incarceration is that at the time we are incarcerating individuals, we do need to have a consideration of their potential public safety risk to the community. The law does require that we take that into consideration, but these are also individuals who are presumed innocent, and that lengthy pretrial incarceration tends to have disruptive effects in terms of individuals' employment, their housing. And so I think we need to make a very careful inquiry of what is appropriate in each case.
Thank you. In closing, we would like to provide each candidate with a minute for a closing statement. Ms. Jackson, would you go, please?
Thank you very much for hosting me here today. What I would like your viewers to know about me and about my campaign is that over the 18 years that I've been practicing, it's been based on the values that I hold, my belief in human dignity, my belief in inclusivity, and my commitment to the fair and equitable administration of justice. I believe that we can have justice and accountability in this community if we have courts and judges that are operating with integrity, that are operating with transparency, and that are committed to the rule of law. These are the values I've tried to uphold throughout my career, and they are the values that I will bring with me to serve my home community if I am elected.
Thank you. Judge Hanselman?
Well, thank you. And thank you again to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum. It's a privilege to be able to speak with you. And it's also a privilege to be able to hold this position. I appreciate the governor appointing me. It was an interesting process to become a judge and to go through that vetting. I've learned a lot in the process, and I've learned a lot on the bench as well. You know, this is a public trust, and I think the court plays such a vital role in our community. Everybody who comes into the courtroom and courthouse is presumed innocent, and I think that's very important. However, not everybody leaves presumed innocent. Some people are convicted, and when someone is convicted of a crime, when someone has hurt somebody else, when someone has hurt the community or betrayed the trust of the community, they need to be punished, and that's part of the court. We have various tools to do that, including incarceration, and I think as far as speaking only for myself, I think incarceration is appropriate, and I'm not afraid to use it. And I believe we need to keep bad guys off the streets.
Thank you both for your participation today, and good luck with your campaigns. The League of Women Voters encourages all candidates to run an issues-oriented campaign. Our goal is to educate the voting public and strengthen our elective political process. The annual Voters Guide will be distributed mid-October in the Dayton Daily News, AIM Media, suburban newspapers, La Vanguardia, and at local libraries, schools, and businesses. Early voting for the upcoming election begins October 12th at your Board of Elections, or you can request an absentee ballot. However you decide to vote, your opinion matters, and you help make democracy work. Thank you.